let's go ahead and get into it. And I thought the most influential game of the weekend for as far as college football playoff implications and a big um, you know, home field advantage. Clearly, Vegas thought that Oregon State had in this game, as Oregon State was favored. It was a torrential downpour for a large portion of this game, and it certainly affected play in this game. I thought that it would go in the favor of Oregon State, but you know what? I have to say, I am very impressed with Washington and the way they handled this test. It was an absolute gut check, and really kind of just like a mind f. The rain was just really hard to deal with for pretty much everybody except for Rome Odunze,
Mhm.
who had an unbelievable day. So let's kind of get into it. Penix was 13 of 28. There was a large portion of this game, about an hour straight of real time, where he didn't complete a pass. Things that going got tough, but we talked about in the game breakdown that we thought it would be very important that Washington was able to run the football, and I was concerned that they wouldn't be able to, and they they won the rushing battle in this game in a lot of cases, and it was subtle, but Dylan Johnson, he made enough plays and helped this team enough to win the game. Huskies, like I said, ran the ball decent, 110 yards. I think that's enough for this team. As much of a threat as they are over the top and throwing the ball around, which Michael Penix is unbelievable. The way he flicks the football around is, I
Yeah.
mean, it is unbelievable. But 100 yards of rushing, 4.4 yards per carry, I think is going to get it done for this team. Obviously, most of the time they're undefeated at this point. So, look, a game like this, it's just win and get out of there. It's not there ain't no style points that are necessary. This was all around a good win. And another very impressive thing to me was the plays that the defense was making. Now Martinez does what Martinez does. He had quite a few rushing yards, but I thought whenever it was needed, I thought Washington came up with some good stops and had DJU kind of forcing the ball in a
Mhm.
lot of situations. I thought the secondary played well considering the conditions, especially because Oregon State took several shots deep down the field, and specifically Muhammad, the cornerback, number one on the defense. It was number one on the defense for Washington and number one on the offense. Those guys pretty much just ran the game, obviously on offense with the help of Michael Penix at times where he played decent. What was your thoughts on this game? And you were on the Washington side of this bet, so this is one of the ones that cashed for you. What do you
Yeah.
think about the game, and what do we think about Washington moving forward?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Washington's defense. I think that was the main takeaway, and I know there was a lot of rain. That forced couple of fumbles for Oregon State. They also had two interceptions, so kind of sloppy play. Given the circumstances and the weather, it correlated with the weather, right? The sloppy weather as well. But I thought it was a gritty performance by the Washington defense, and their offense came out strong. In that first half, I would have liked to have seen them with more give themselves more opportunities to score. They did have the one missed field goal in the second half, but didn't score at all in that second half. I think that was a little disappointing if you're a Washington fan. Um, I think that if you're going to beat Oregon in this upcoming game, for the likely for the Pac-12 championship game, you got to have more opportunities. Give yourself more opportunities. Now, you're not going to have to deal with the rain and the conditions in a dome in Arizona, but is that going to be enough? Is that going to get them over the hump and allow them to score, all the way throughout the game? I think that's what's going to be needed. We've already seen that matchup, and they were scoring all throughout that game. So, but mostly it was a positive day for the Huskies. Oregon State, I mean, they battled, they gave themselves opportunities, but couldn't couldn't punch it in, and really just had too many turnovers for this game to really be competitive. But you mentioned Damian Martinez. He had one heck of a game. Um, and really neither quarterback ended up throwing over 50%, which is um, understandable considering the
Yeah.
circumstances. And I mean, it wasn't just light rain. It was a downpour for most of that game. So, um, but yeah, I thought that given that both offenses really did a pretty good job of extending drives and things. But ultimately, I thought that it was the defense that showed up for the Huskies, and we've mentioned it. We've had commenters mention it. When they need to make plays, Washington, their defense makes plays, and that was the difference in this game. They created turnovers. You saw Dylan Johnson fumble nearly at the goal line. And you're thinking, what the heck, man? You just missed out on 7 points, and the defense gets the ball right back. They create a turnover, punch the ball out, and then they end up getting a touchdown on the next drive anyway. So it didn't matter at the end of the day. So they kind of backed up Johnson in that regard, and came up big. Just very very opportune, I guess is the word for Washington's defense. But I was impressed. I still want to see a little bit more out of this team before I pick them over Oregon, and I don't think we're going to get a chance to see that necessarily. But they've got Washington State coming up, who looked really good. So but they were facing Colorado at the end of the day, and I'm excited for that matchup that we get to break down tomorrow.
Well, I tell you what, at this point in the season, as I said earlier, you're just trying to get out with a win, and they were able to do that. It was certainly a gut check Saturday. I am very impressed because I was on the Oregon State side, and honestly, everything was set up exactly. I feel like Oregon State would want it, and uh, Washington forced DJU into some tough situations, passing down the field. I mean, he couldn't get anything going at all,
Mm.
and whenever he would try to drop back, they were coming after him, and he had some good runs, and obviously Martinez had a good day, but yeah, man, opportunistic is definitely the word for this defense. They took advantage of their opportunities in this one, and just the mental wherewithal to be able to withstand the elements and everything. I just thought was really impressive, man. This team's got a lot of guts. This is a really good team. Kalen DeBoer has lost 2 games since he's been at Washington, Mason.
Yep.
Um, I mean, you there ain't many coaches that start out this good
Yeah.
at a university, and it is extremely impressive. Certainly at a place like Washington, and I know we got some Washington fans probably tuned in right now, but they'll be watching this later because they're going to be celebrating this one. And yeah, as you said, Washington State looked really good. Surprised the absolute heck out of me. Washington State looked like an earlier form of themselves earlier in the season. I am interested to see that matchup next week. I
Yeah.
think Washington is going to be able to handle that, but gosh, they got a big look ahead spot, man, because they do have that matchup in Vegas in the dome with with Oregon that is locked in at this point. So definitely don't want to drop one here. You want to give yourself a chance if something does go wrong against Oregon, who looked very, very good this weekend. Not really going to have a chance to mention them, but they won 49-7 over Arizona State. Beat the ever living hell out of Dillingham, who was their ex offensive coordinator. Dan Lanning was his best man in his wedding,
Yeah.
and then he goes out there and smokes him. But
Well, he did take his foot off the gas that second quarter or that second half. They were up
oh yeah,
42-0 in the first
oh yeah,
half, and they score one touchdown the rest of the game. We've seen a
that was
we've
my
seen that a
addition.
lot from Dan Lanning too. In this
Yeah,
Oregon team this year that just tends to dominate everyone from the get go.
yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Um, hey, and if you're watching the show right now, shoot us a comment and let us know what you thought about this game or all these games that we're going to be talking about. We're so glad that you're tuned into the First and Long College Football Show. We're bringing news and analytics and game breakdowns, which we'll have later this week for what is a for a lot of teams, a rivalry week coming up in week 13. So we hope that you'll come join us for that. And we hope that you'll, just do us the favor of hitting that subscribe button, because it certainly helps us out, and it makes us able to let you know when we have content being uploaded and things like that. Because you're not going to want to miss anything from this point out, especially you Washington fans.